Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a dynamic effort lower workout. So for this 3-week wave, I have dynamic deadlifts. This is the second week in the 3-week wave, so I have 80% total 1 rep max. That's bar plus band tension. Now, these look like I'm not trying to pull that hard. They're just sort of moving smoothly, but honestly, it felt like I was pulling, one, way faster, like it looks so much slower on video, but two, way harder. Like my head felt like it was going to explode every rep. I was straining that hard. So if dynamic effort looks sort of deceptively easy or smooth, it's not meant to be. Every single rep you're meant to pull as if it was like a max effort, trying to put 100% effort in, and then it just moves at the pace it does based on the amount of weight and band tension you've used. So had a successful deadlift session there. The bar speed was good, but yeah, it definitely looks way easier than it felt. So my first accessory here is belt squats. I went up to 180 kg for 2 sets of 10 this week, which is the heaviest I've ever gone, so I'm happy with that. My previous best was last week when I hit 150 kg for sets of 12, so for only 2 reps less to add 30 kg feels great. And unfortunately, the limiting factor with these is like the chain on the belt. It is literally cutting into my legs so hard. It was really hard to ignore whilst doing this. So that is often a factor that's underlooked when people are doing exercises. I think people sort of think, oh, no pain, no gain. If something's uncomfortable, you should just sort of like man up and push through it. Well, if it's uncomfortable, it's distracting you, or it might literally limit you. Like I've got massive bruising all down the inner sides of my thighs because of this chain. So I'm going to look to get sort of like a heavy duty strap that shouldn't cut into my thighs as much. Obviously, it's going to be hard to get a strap that can support like at least 200 kilos for the belt squat, but it is important that you're actually like comfortably set in a position when you're training. And then what should be happening is you should be pushing hard at the movement. Like you should be working hard, but it shouldn't be like unbearable or uncomfortable in any way. So anyway, they still moved fantastically and were the heaviest I've done to date, and they moved pretty easily, so I was happy with that. Then my next accessory here was single leg hamstring curls. So for the last few weeks, instead of these, I've been doing GHDs on my GHD reverse hyper machine, which you can see in the bottom right corner, which are also a great sort of hamstring substitute. They're working on knee flexion as well. And I've been doing them because I've done these single leg hamstring curls a lot since the start of the year. And also over like the past year and a half, I've done these. These have been my main like hamstring curl variation. But I started to hit a plateau and I started to get some pain sort of in the back of my knees. I think that's partially just from progressively overloading so much. So today I got I think sets of 22 with these 60 pounds here on the first set, and then just sets of 16 on the second set. My strength dropped quite a lot because the hamstrings were very fatigued from this first set. It's definitely the most number of reps I've done at this weight, which was great. But when I first started, I used to only lift like 40 pounds for sets of 10. So because of that massive improvement, it can tax your frame in such a short amount of time. Like it is a much larger strain on your connective tissue as well. So I was finding that I was getting pain at the back of my knees, which is why I stopped doing these for a while. But when doing these sets, I basically had no pain, none at all on the right hand side, and just a tiny little bit on the left hand side. So I was happy with that. And then obviously I hit the most reps I've ever done at that weight in those first sets. So I'm at my all-time strongest as well, which is fantastic. But next week I'll probably alternate back to GHDs and just keep a more balanced approach. I've been doing single leg hamstring curls maybe a bit too much, and that's a thing that I'd say for all exercises as well. I've said this on multiple videos, and one of the corner principles of the conjugate system is rotating different exercise variations. One, to bust through plateaus. If you do the same thing over and over again, eventually the law of accommodation will occur and you'll plateau or get worse. But also for injury prevention, like if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, that's often what happens happens with like the bench press when people are like, benching's terrible for your shoulders. No, not inherently, but if you only do a regular barbell bench press, you're putting the same strain on your joints in the same way over and over again for like 20 years. And then you'll find these 40-year-olds who are like, my shoulders are wrecked and I can't bench anymore. Yeah, because you just were stupid. You didn't rotate any variations. You did nothing to try and physically prepare your shoulder to press in different ways and to restore the connective tissues. So rotating different exercise variations can be key for that as well. And with my hamstrings, it has definitely helped the pain I was getting in the back of the legs just to switch up the exercise a bit. So the next accessory here was calf raises, and I decided to just do these on the belt squat, and these felt fantastic. Having the weight grounding down through the hips was really nice, and the chain didn't affect me on these because I wasn't like squatting all the way down. It was only in the deep position of the belt squats that was hurting. So these felt fantastic. And as far as calf raises goes, this is a fantastic substitute for me in my home gym. I don't have like a seated calf raise machine or a Smith machine are fantastic for doing like fixed plane of resistance calf raises where you don't have to worry about balancing. Well, the belt squat is a great alternative for me, and they felt fantastic. Definitely pumped the calves up massively and hit very high reps for me. I think I got sets of 15 at 180 kilos. That is very good for me. So I was happy with those. Then the next accessory here was hip adductions. Now I've done multiple different variations of adductions. My favorite are with like the roller that you can see in the very top left corner of the screen that's hanging on the wall. However, I can only really get like sets of 4 or 5 with them when I go full depth. So I'm trying to do higher reps in my training at the moment and just pump up the muscles and try not to contribute to my overall fatigue too much with accessories. So I decided to try out the reverse hyper and just see what it was like for hip adductions, and it actually felt really good. Like when the weight swings back and you have to concentrically try and stop it from swinging away from you, it requires like a lot of control, and then contracting on the way in is very hard. Also, I've just written 150 kilos in the corner. Obviously, it is not like an actual 150 kilos of resistance because the resistance is pulling down due to gravity, whereas I'm pulling acrosswards. So it was still challenging at about the perfect weight for me to do these, but it is not actually like 150 kilos. If I had 150 kilo strength adductors, they would be like the strongest in the world, well, of all time. Like that would be utterly ridiculous. So anyway, they felt very good and hit the adductors effectively. And again, I'm just rotating different variations of these. So I think the last few times I've been doing banded adductions. Then I will chuck the roller adductions in every now and again, depending on how taxing the session has been before. If I feel like I have lots of gas left in the tank and I'm feeling very well recovered, yeah, I'll chuck in the rollers, which are a bit heavier in quotations. It's not really like heavy in terms of there's no weight, it's just my body weight, but heavier in terms of it's more resistant applied to the adductors. So that is how I'll rotate those going forward. Then the final accessory was reverse hypers with the 150 kilos. Now these, like in the top position, basically are 150 kilos because of the turning moment. So yeah, obviously my adductors are not as strong as my entire posterior chain. These felt great. It was my standard programming for reverse hypers, just 2 sets of 15 at this 150 kilos, just to try and pump up all of that posterior chain, all of the upper back, mid back, lower back, glutes, a bit of the hamstrings, and then also focusing on breathing. So these presented a new challenge today in that I was so sweaty. As you can probably see, there is like one massive sweat patch on my back. We finally have had a good week of weather in the UK, which is pretty rare, but it meant that I was so hot training in this gym. It also has like a tin roof, so it literally warms up like a greenhouse, and it meant that I was slipping on the front pad of the reverse hyper. So that was a new challenge, trying to stabilize that, but overall went well. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of that wonderful stuff, and have a great day.